try to narrow down, given the fact that we've got only about 20 minutes left with the discussion. I thought we might as well, not that I'm going to impose it, but trying to sort of narrow the focus of discussion in order to sort of perhaps get the best out of the expertise of our speaker. One of those things that I would like to focus on is in the GCC, any policy with regard to carbon trading has to be looked at in the macroeconomic context. And its success in reducing the carbon footprint is very much a function of what prices are charged for the income, more than anything else. I don't know whether if we don't reduce, if we don't increase the prices of inputs like gasoline and gas and other things at the market level, the introduction of carbon trading per se will have a significant impact. The second issue that I think we may like to focus on is who will be the market maker in the region for carbon trading. The largest polluters are in the public sector. And even if you were to use a cap and trade in some sort of an implicit tax, it will be going from one side of the ledger to the other side of the ledger in the public sector. So unless you can do something to spin off these operations which are in the public sector to the private sector, you won't have the competition that is required to be able to make it meaningful. And the third issue, which you may like to focus on, is it possible to go the voluntary route at the very outset? The reason is, knowing that society, people over there, once you introduce a voluntary system, it will become voluntary. So you may think in terms of moving right away to an involuntary market-based system. People are smart, they'll understand, and if they're going to fall in line, they will fall in line. But if you're a voluntary system, you will remain voluntary forever. Finally, what I would suggest is look at it from the point of view of an alternative. Cap and trade is fun. The hybrid system is great. I have no problem with that. What I'm really concerned about is this, that it will not reach the small and the medium scale of it, and certainly not reach the consumer on the street. It will essentially reach the large producers, and the market that they will create will be relatively small. So the trading will be limited, and to that extent, it will become a rather boring market in the sense that you really won't be able to generate revenue or the profit you're going to generate. You should then encourage the economic activity. But it was excellent. I simply learned about. May I open it to open discussion to anybody who's interested? Please introduce yourself when you ask a question.
Thank you very much, Justin, for excellent presentation. I'm Boris Sadov from Georgetown University. I have a question. You mentioned that in order for the carbon trading scheme to be implemented in the GCC region, it needs to be done simultaneously. That's what you mentioned, and I think it's my question is, has there been any attempt in the Gulf country to conclude a treaty, an international agreement to that effect? Thank you.
Well, that's a very good question. In terms of a movement towards creating some sort of treaty, as far as I know, that hasn't been done yet, and it hasn't been contemplated yet in terms of carbon trading. One of the reasons why there has to be a type of simultaneous or near simultaneous implementation is due to address the issues of course, leakage and fear of unilateral action. But within the Gulf, though, there hasn't really been this movement towards treaty for Gulf projects or any type of Gulf energy projects.
Just something comprehensive.
Oh, comprehensive,
they get together, the Gulf countries,
yes,
and they agree that this is the general
Yes.
framework that we agree for carbon trading, and then everybody's bound.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I think that there are some quite significant precedents that we can draw upon. If we look at the formation of the Gulf Cooperation Council as an entity, I mean, that itself, I think, of course, in 1981, I believe, that was quite a significant step. And also, there was the GCCIP, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council Interconnection Project, which is a pan-Gulf electricity grid. Now, in order to develop the necessary infrastructure behind that, and I don't mean the physical infrastructure, but I just mean the regulatory and pricing infrastructure, is that all the Gulf countries, they came together, and under the auspices of the GCC, they concluded a whole series of agreements which regulate everything from pricing to trading to similarity of the electrical grids and so on between the respective countries. I mean, so I think that would offer a very good precedent. And I think that in terms of carbon trading, I think that infrastructure for agreement would be in place if they wanted to do this through the GCC. So as of yet, as I indicated, since the global financial crisis, there hasn't been any further movement on developing a carbon trading platform. Although I do think sometime soon, when the global economy picks back up, perhaps 2011, 2013, it depends how the whole Greek crisis plays out, I suppose. But when that does happen, then I think that the Gulf countries will start to address this issue again, and we won't see necessarily this rejectionist position that we've seen during the Copenhagen negotiations.
Excuse me, Alan. These other Middle East Institute. Have there been any discussions of this in the GCC officially? The ministers get together at various levels, periodically, at least once a quarter. Summits occur twice a year, so on and so forth. So the first question is that. The second one is, how does the development of nuclear energy, particularly in the UAE, fit into this scheme?
Yes. In terms of the ministers getting together and agreeing or at least discussing this issue, I simply haven't seen any substantive discussion on this. One thing which is unique within the Gulf is that you have this overarching organization, the GCC, which ostensibly promotes collaboration, economic cooperation amongst the various industrial sectors. But at the same time, something which is quite interesting in the Gulf context is that there's a sense of competition as well amongst the various Gulf countries, which I think has its positive aspects and, of course, its negative aspects. So one aspect of this cooperation was that in 2007 we saw Doha and we saw, of course, the UAE. They both, or Dubai especially, they both announced that they would create their own carbon emissions trading platforms. And to a certain extent, this was due to the competition inherent between these two countries, simply because they each wanted to be the regional leader of any type of carbon trading. I mean, so I haven't seen this within the GCC. I haven't seen a discussion on this. And since 2007, of course, there hasn't really been time for the Gulf countries to discuss this in depth because we had the global economic crisis 2008, and there was a precipitous drop in the international price of oil that occurred in 2008. So actually in fall of 2008. So they had other more pressing worries than to talk about or in order to discuss at the ministerial level any type of carbon mitigation.